We're finally out of January. Now we jump into February. Personally, the worst month of the year. Not exactly because of movies. It's mostly because I consider February a month of bad luck. Also, there's Valentine's Day, which I'm not exactly very fond of, but that's another can of worms. The truth of the matter is that I finally went to see Argyle, which is the latest movie made by Matthew Vaughn. He's mostly known for Kingsman, the X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass. I'm not gonna lie that while I'm not exactly kind of like the feverish follower about this around this guy, is I gotta admit that he has a tendency to create some entertaining movies. I mean, I do agree that X-Men First Class was one of the better X-Men movies from that era. I really like Kick-Ass 2, not that one sucked. But now we are with Argyle, in which, not to spoiler alert, but I will say that this is a movie that lives in the same universe of Kingsmen. Long story short, I will say that the first Kingsman still holds up, and it is a really fun spy action movie, which usually spy movies are not exactly kind of like my biggest cup of tea. I do watch them, but to put you a little bit into perspective, I'm not exactly a big fan of Bond movies. I watched a few of them, and well, they didn't catch me, I'll say. Can you believe that when I saw the highly acclaimed, what was it? It said "You Only Live Twice." I don't remember what the name of the movie. It was the James Bond movie with the guy with the cat and all these things. The one with Sean Connery. Many people like that one, but I found that movie boring. A lot of the James Bond movies I found it boring. I think the only James Bond movie I actually like it was License to Kill, and probably the final moments of Moonraker. I haven't seen a lot of the other James Bond movies, so you can tell that spy movies are it's not exactly kind of like my forte. But I did watch Kingsman, and I really liked that one. That one had some cool action scenes, and I got invested into the story. Kingsman 2, not. Kingsman 2 was a letdown. So I don't believe that movie was Matthew Vaughn was involved into it, but man, that Kingsman 2 was a great letdown. I haven't even seen what was it, Kingsman? I don't remember the title. It was the latest one that had Rasputin. that one I that one I didn't watch. Funny thing about Rasputin is that I do know that Rasputin is also a character in the Raito Kusunoha Shin Megami Tensei the series. Oh, just in case, I got my while I went to the movies, I got myself Persona 3 Reloaded. I don't have high hopes about that one because Atlas kind of has the tendency to screw up. I did hear some screw ups on this one, but I'm very curious to see it with my own eyes. But anyway, that's just a small detour before I talk about my own thoughts about Argyle. That I gotta say that the trailer didn't hit me a lot. The biggest thing that came into my head when I saw the trailer is that, okay, it looks like a silly concept. It's gonna be very silly to the point that it's gonna be kind of like stupid. Although it does have kind of like an interesting premise, and the CGI, especially that cat, is awful. The CGI is so awful that I'm gonna just. I just went there, just whatever. I went to see it, and I will say that the end result is that I come up with two sides of the coin. For one hand, I had a stupid good time with it. I enjoy a lot of the stupid things that happen. Some of the choreography, some of the style that it has. But on the other hand, the movie makes decisions that, quite frankly, it jumps the shark. It makes some really, really dumb decisions that it just comes out being, well, how can I describe it? It's a complicated feeling. It's not, I can't say that it's a terrible movie, but I will say that it wasn't exactly that good. But if you want kind of like in a good mood, you're gonna get your money's worth on enjoying the film as it is, because the movie has enough. It has enough stuff that it's gonna get you invested and you're gonna like it. But on the other hand, once some certain elements appeared that when you start kind of putting your feet on the ground, you will say that, you know what, that doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite work as you expected. You might forgive it, you might not. I even gave myself the time to see a few reviews of it. Most critics are not liking about it. Although there are some people that are defending the movie, saying that, well, it was good, it was great, it was a great time. I don't want to be kind of like an either side, but I do have to follow my own thoughts of honesty about this movie, and I will say that both of them are right and wrong for their own reasons. But at the end of the day, I just came out entertained, but stupidly entertained. I'll give you more details as I go on. So let's go with it. So the story is about this woman named Ellie. She's played by Bryce Dallas. What was it? Bryce Dallas Howard, I think it was called. Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard. You know her. You know her as the female protagonist of Jurassic World. I think she did other stuff, but that's the one that comes to my head. Well, she plays this novelist who makes these books of espionage, starring this hunky spy named Argyle. In her fantasy, he's played by Henry Cavill. She's having it good. She's having her fans. People like her. She has a nice mom, and also she has a cat. And then she wants to visit her mother because she has a little bit of writer's block. But then out of nowhere, she gets approached by this guy played by Sam Rockwell, and lo and behold, she begins to realize that spies are following her, and they want to get rid of her. So Sam Rockwell kind of protects her and begins to say that apparently the books that she writes are also predicting what is happening for real. That there is a real evil spy association, I think it would call a real spy association that they want her dead, because apparently she knows what is their next move, and she may lead them to some master plans that she's also writing on the book. So she's bewildered and confused about what the hell is going on, that she technically get involved into these spy things, and and well, it's as silly as you can expect from that kind of story, and it shows. I mean, I mean, yeah, you get these kind of you can kind of get this kind of story in which someone is doing their earnest stuff, but then out of fish out of water, they get involved into something that they didn't ask, and I was like, this, oh my god, this poor woman, but at the same time, this poor cat. The poor cat is kind of getting involved into all these things. And you know that that domestic cats are not gonna like used to these kind of thrills. So yeah, yeah. And although for the majority of the movie, this cat does spend on that elaborate backpack in which I'm not exactly knowledgeable about animals and transportation, but is that backpack real? I want to know if that backpack that you use to carry cats are real, because in a way, I don't think that looks good, considering that a cat needs oxygen, and closing a bag and looking at cat that for the inside, this poor thing, how does he breathe? Uh, okay, I'm kind of like nitpicking around it. Let me go a little bit with the actors and some of the characters. First, we got Bryce Dallas Howard, in which she is particularly kind of like likable. Is probably one of her better roles since the Jurassic World. And her situations are interesting, I'll say. She got me hooked. That is until things begins to happen in which in which when things it begins to reveal itself, which I'll get to it. This is where it was like, oh, so it was gonna be that kind of movie. Okay, I get it. I get it. I was into it, but still, she did a good job as the character. Then we got Sam Rockwell, who's kind of like the dual protagonist. He's practically he plays this guy named Aiden, and he's kind of like the real agent who approaches her and finds out that she looks like that, that she is the key component that these spies want. These so. But he let me tell you, this guy sometimes he acts a little bit like a jerk. In my eyes, it was because in a moment he acts like a jerk. Sometimes he kind of tries a little bit too hard to be funny, but in a way, he kind of becomes also like, intriguing and really interesting, I'll say. That's pretty much all I have to say in short terms about this guy. There are other characters like we got the main villain played by Bryan Cranston, and he was basically the spy generic villain, which honestly I don't technically mind genericness as long as it doesn't go into the insulting level. Luckily, he wasn't like that. Compared to Samuel L. Jackson compared to Samuel L. Jackson in the first Kingsmen movie, he's not that. Oh, by the way, I'll go back to that Samuel L. Jackson later. But Bryan Cranston, he wasn't hamming it up, but he wasn't exactly kind of like a very memorable villain. At least I'll give him credit that he did nail the sliminess of the villain. Although I think the more slimy character is what was it? The name of that character? I think it was. I don't think it is. I don't think it's there. Which it was basically kind of like the other bad guy who. I'm not gonna tell exactly what it is, but it is. But because it's gonna spoil a little bit too much, and I don't think that right now is the correct time to do it. But you know what? I think I am gonna go for it later. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a heads up when the time comes. Then, and of course, there's also, like I mentioned, Samuel L. Jackson is in the movie. It's a funny thing that Samuel L. Jackson is playing a different character compared to his character in the first Kingsman. The first Kingsman, he was kind of like this ridiculous villain. But in this case, he was kind of like charismatic, but he was more kind of like a conspiracy theorist. But I think I'm gonna stop there because this is gonna spoil a little bit too much. Oh, and by the way, I think you might be thinking, aren't you missing someone? The title character, Argyle? Yeah, the guy played by Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill appeared once in a while. At first, it's kind of like in the fantasies of our main protagonist, and then kind of showcased little by little, kind of like kind of showcasing the characters, our main protagonist's imagination. And he's like giving her pep talks or something like that. And he's like, "Hey, I'm here." Funny thing is that it makes me feel bad a little bit for Henry Cavill that honestly, at first they kind of tried to find opportunity to shoehorn the guy, but then there were times in which he kind of completely disappears from the movie, and that is until there comes moments in which you're like, oh yeah, he's here. Poor Henry Cavill, and I respect the guy. I mean, I say what you want of how shit the Superman movies were, but still, he was a good Superman. The movie was not good, but he was still a good Superman. Oh yeah, and I did saw him on that Mission Impossible movie, and he was pretty good. So it makes me sad to see how Henry Cavill, being a really promising actor, being kind of like shoehorned into the sidelines. Oh yeah, also John Cena is on the movie, and he was also kind of like the supporting guy. He was I think he was the assistant of the Argyle character. And so that's pretty much I have to say about the character without spoiling too much. Then there is a little bit of the cinematography. This is where this is where things go in a mixed territory. Let's talk. For example, the camera is fine. You can tell that they did some effort on the action scenes, because honestly, I prefer action scenes like that compared to others in which they have kind of like this tight editing and you can't tell what is going on. Recently I've been noticing that they finally learned their lesson that quick cuts and close-ups on action scenes are not exactly the way to go. Although in this one they kind of try to make it very stylish in one way or another, even to the point that they sacrifice a little bit of believability, especially during the second half. Usually during the grand climax, something happens that this is where the movie falls for me. That moment, the more I think about it, even if I want to, enjoy it as it is, I was like, I can't. I just can't. Sorry. I have to talk about that later, but because that begs to talk about it. But I will tell you at least a clue that it involves medical science, a bullet, and stupidity. That, even to now, it bothers me. But I'll tell you that when the time comes. Then there is the CGI. The CGI is not good. There are moments. I mean, you can tell that that the whole aesthetic of the movie is kind of like Kingsmen. Bright color, lavish scenery, pretty colorful, especially their moment during the climax, and it ridiculous set. Sometimes they try the CGI, but sometimes you'll notice it kind of like the green screen. Especially noticeable with the cat. Man, I kind of forgot to mention about the cat, because the cat is actually a character in the movie, and I don't want to leave out any actor. And you know what? I'm gonna consider the cat an actor, because the cat is real. They even put him in the credits. The cat, I think it was called Chip, or Kit, or I think it was called Chip, the real life name of the cat. It's cute. I gotta say that the cat is cute. Although the poor cat, it got into the situation like that. But then comes the moment in which they make the cat CGI for some moment, and my God, it looks so obviously fake. The cat looks so fake that it feels so unreal and unbelievable. To the point that it made me it reminded me of that movie from years ago. Do you remember that movie called Keanu? It is a movie about these guys who take this cat and he gets involved into gangsters, and they had a kind of like lots of cats, and I think they did have kind of like moments in which they CGI the cat. Also, I don't remember the CGI of the cat from Keanu being bad. But I think it's probably because it could be easily hidden, considering considering the type of cat that it is. Keanu was, I think it was kind of like a short hair striped cat. In this case, I think I'm not an expert of cat species, and I think that was kind of like a Persian. I think it's a Persian cat. No, I don't think it's Persian. It is one of those that has kind of like long fur. And when you make it kind of like a CGI, I think that this is where it feels noticeable, because you have to make a really extra effort on the hair. That was, I can understand that part is where it gets really complicated. And then comes of course the way of the storytelling, in which I've been hearing a lot of people that it is trying to imitate other spy movies, and I'm not gonna be kind of like the perfect guy to talk about this, because I sometimes rarely talk about those movies, but I do get it. I do get where they come from. I do have to kind of admire their tenacity, that the movie is built on layers and layers and layers of twists. What you get from the trailer is only the basic of what you're gonna get, and once you get into the movie, you gotta give them credit that they hide kind of like the biggest twist that it happened, and those twists. Not gonna lie, I was so interested that I was kind of like that. I say, I get it. Oh man. There's some twists and surprises that actually has kind of like a lot of them. It's so much to the point that you don't know if you can trust the movie, which is weird considering that this is the basic of the movie. The biggest slogan that the movie has is that the greater the spy, the biggest the lie, and that one it centers on a big fat lie that it was like, whoa. So how can I trust? I want to see that movie having this challenge against when it's about trust. I think you know what movie I was kind of referring to. I already rant on that movie a lot. But yeah, and this is I don't know if I want to call these twists either pretentious or genius. Still, it got me hooked. It got me interested. But either way, I was I was mesmerized. I was like, wow. So this is what's going on. It gets in a way it gets dumber to the point that I kind of like accept it. Except some moments near the end, and it comes with, again, I mentioned about the bullet. There was something that had to do with a battle that it kind of raised my eyebrows, and I am also I kind of I did also I did also leave out on purpose that there, something happens with the character played by Ariana DeBose. This is the funny thing. This is Ariana DeBose. Was she in? I think she was in ISS I think she was in ISS. Yes. She was. They really trying to push this woman into the movie. I'm not saying that she's a bad actress, but I mean she did fine on ISS. I just think that she still needs to pick up after Wish. Oh man, wishful thinking. Here it goes. You know what? To talk a little bit more properly criticizing the movie, I think I already give you the idea, but now it's time for me to hear me kind of like praise and rant of some of the stuff. Mostly rant. But it's time for me to talk about, how can I say, some spoilers, because this begs to spoil some things, and I didn't want you to ruin the fun, because the movie in itself is fun to watch. But I gotta play sometimes devil's advocate to not overhype this movie, and gotta be honest with some of the stuff that really gonna bother me once you kind of like think about it. So you already got the gist of my base thoughts about Argyle, but I think it is a good time to go through spoiler time. So, yep, it's time for me to spoil you the whole enchilada. Here's the big twist. The big twist is that our protagonist Ellie, she finds out that in reality she was also a secret agent. She was a spy. She's an agent. Her real name was also Kelly Kyle or something like that. Something like Argyle. And she still has some of her skills and memories. What happened is that apparently she was on a mission to get, you know, the MacGuffin, which is all these what was this archives on a pen drive that is gonna expose the evil organization. And apparently something went wrong that it left her injured and a little bit of a comatose. And then the bad guys and his right wing, which is revealed to be the mother, who was kind of like a more she was a neurological psychiatrist, and they brainwash her to make her think that they're her parents, and so they can leak her secrets. And so basically, her memories was the inspiration for the Argyle books. And so So the other people were just watching her, kind of like protecting her, so nothing bad is gonna happen. So she's like, "Oh my God! So my life was kind of like a lie." And uh, so she begins to embrace the whole thing. And then another twist kind of happens, saying that she actually was part of the enemy group, and, and she was kind of like, I don't know how to trust and all these things, and so it kind of comes it comes kind of like this layers and layers of things, and she even comes out with a new outfit, and it kind of like she comes right down with Howard. Uh, she becomes from red hair to blonde hair, and by the way, is it me or when she turned blonde? I think she got a little bit wider. No offense, but maybe it's just me. But here is the moment of baffling unbelievability that the more I still think about it, I can't get over it. The Sam Rockwell character is captured, and the villains technically they just begin to apparently they look like they brainwash our protagonists into joining back to their side. They got Sam Rockwell, tied on a chair. He tries to make her come back to her senses, and then she shoots him, apparently killing him. So then she go, doing all her stuff, and then the Sam Rockwell then is revealed that he's alive. He took the opportunity when the villains uncuff him, thinking that he's dead, and then he kicks their ass. Then he puts some adrenaline in order to keep him alive, and then it is revealed that, of course, our protagonist was actually lying, and that she was actually on our good side characters, even rescuing the cat again. And then when she finally meets Sam Rockwell again, here comes the stupid thing. The stupid thing what happened is that our protagonist, while writing the novel, she had this character, the Ariana DeBose character. It got killed, but for some reason, she didn't agree that they killed that character. I don't know. Maybe it's because in her mind, she felt like because the character was based on a real life character that apparently also got killed, but she thinks that. No, I don't think I should kill that character. And then she receives an email from a fan saying that, why don't you make something like this? And that kind of inspired her. You know what that thing is? How to make a character not die from bullet wounds. Let me collect myself because the whole thing is stupid. Here's the thing. To survive a bullet wound on the chest, apparently you have to shoot them a little bit on the left where your heart is, because apparently there's kind of like a blind spot on your chest where no matter where you shoot it, the bullet is gonna go all over the system, with that penetrating the whole body, and then without killing your vital organs. So you just only have to patch it up, at least even with a napkin or a tissue, something like that. You just treat the wound, but you'll still be safe. I'm not a doctor, but that's a scientific miracle. And what the hell? I'm trying to put the pieces together on that is I can't say what it a blind spot where you shoot them in the chest and you won't be harmed? And Sam Rockwell is still walking fine. No, even though he just put some bandages in it. But there's so many things that I just can't shoot them in the chest and just miss the vital organs, even if that's scientifically and medically true. Even if that was true, you have to be a freaking wizard to have a pinpoint accuracy to know where to shoot. And don't tell me with the Ariana DeBose character in the Argyle novel. Don't give me that thing because she was riddled with bullets on a car. With machine guns. It's not hard. And there was no possibility that, because at least in the case of the Sam Rockwell kind of thing, at least the character took aim. But in the Argyle thing, the character just, how can I say, she got riddled with machine guns, and machine guns are not exactly accurate. And they fire, like, for example, kind of like 5 or 10 bullets per second. Now do you get me? Do you get me why that moment bothered me? That was the official moment where it jumped the shark. And by the way, it's not the first time that this thing happened. Then we got this action scene where the whole floor gets filled with crude oil. And then our main protagonist say that, oh yeah, I knew how to ice skate. And then she put some knives on her foot so she could ice skate in oil. I'm not exactly knowledgeable of physics, but I don't think that oil and ice skating works kind of like that way. Maybe I should suspend my suspension of disbelief in order to technically believe that, because honestly, at least as a payback, it looks cool. It looks amazingly cool. I just tried. I'm just trying to suspend my disbelief in this case. And then, of course, Bryan Cranston gets wasted because of the cat. Then they kind of go with the brainwash thing, even though there was here comes the also moment in which this is where it jumps the shark. The brainwasher, she gets kind of like this ballerina musical box in which it hypnotizes our main protagonist and has to fight with Sam Rockwell. And while they fight, in his mind, he doesn't even bother to go get the musical box, which is the one that is obviously doing all the mind control. He doesn't even try to do that. But then, something even stupider happened. Before our protagonist gives the final blow to our hero, someone out of nowhere knocks the villain, destroys the musical box, And it was like, and then everything's going fine. And it was like, hey, who are you? Ariana DeBose. She was alive. She was alive. Apparently because of that freaking bullet miracle. And she's like, hey, you know that fan that gave you that tip? I did it. And I was infiltrating the enemy base for all these years, so waiting for you. I got nothing to say. I got nothing to say. It was bad alone. It's bad that we had that bullet miracle. But with that happening for this character who apparently you could remove it and wouldn't affect nothing on the movie. This is where you jump the shark. And then of course all ends well and all this stuff. Oh yeah, we got a mid-credit scene in which apparently 20 years ago, in the Kingsmen Syndicate, the guy who was kind of like this anarchist spy who had the kind of like the master plan. His surname was also Argyle. I don't know. I'm not exactly an expert of the Kingsmen lore, but the crux is that bullet thing. It bothers me. That bullet thing bothers me, and you know what? I give this movie the benefit of the doubt. I enjoy it for what it is, but still, that bullet it raises my eyebrows in a way. But you know what? I think I already talking about the whole thing. So you know what? There. Spoilers out. That's all I have to say about Argyle. It for its benefit, it is a stupid fun movie. It has some. If you're not exactly familiar with too many spies movies, you're gonna get this money worth on enjoying something so dumb for what it is. And you know what? I welcome it. Although there are some moments in which this is where I find the suspension of disbelief kind of a little bit overkill. But it could have been worse. As I may have, acted a little bit out of line, just to give some exaggerated emphasis, to emphasize exaggerately my feelings of the whole thing. Lo and behold, like I said, the bullet. But either way, do I recommend it? I'll give it kind of like a half recommendation. I give it a half recommendation. It's as a popcorn flick, you'll get what it's worth. Was it as great as Kingsman? No. Was it as bad as Kingsman 2? No, not at all. I think that at least this one did a better job than Kingsman 2. Again, I'm not gonna. I cannot say about the other Kingsman movie because I haven't even seen it. Complicated matters. I'm glad that we get these kind of movies once in a while. Whether it is on its good and it's bad, when they try, but sometimes there is no try. You just slip, and well, you get movies like Argyle. So that's all. That's all I have to say about this. And by the way, you can trust me because this time I'm not lying because I'm not a spy.